Hey guys, last week we learned how to write fractions with tenths and hundredths as decimals. Today we're just going to review how to write a tenth and hundredth as a decimal. To get started, let's watch this video.
Our number system is based on the number 10. Remember how we write numbers in hundreds, tens, and ones or units. The number 356 is made up of 3 hundredths, 5 tens, and 6 ones. The number 10 is also important for numbers less than 1. There is a special set of fractions we call decimal fractions that are also based on the number 10. They are 1/10 and 1/100th. Let's take a close look at decimal fractions. 1/10 is 1 divided into 10 little pieces. 1/100th is 1 divided into 100 tiny pieces. 1/100th is 10 times smaller than 1/10. Decimal numbers are the same as decimal fractions, but we write them differently. We write 1/10 like this, and 100th like this.
Notice that when I write a hundredth, when I only have 100th or 200ths, I don't have any full tenths yet, so I have to put a 0 to kind of as a placeholder on my tenths so that I know that my 1 has to go in my hundredths spot.
Decimal numbers fit into our hundreds, tens, and ones number system. We always place a decimal point between the ones and the tenths. Here's 1/10 written as a decimal. And here's 100th written as a decimal.
Notice that I have no tenths, so I have to put a 0 in the tenth
Let's take
spot.
a look at how we use decimal numbers. In 2013, the world's fastest man, Usain Bolt, set a new world record time for running 100 meters. The time was 9.58 seconds. Usain Bolt's time was 9 whole seconds, 5/10ths of a second, and 8/100ths of a second. Here's another example. The number 12.06 is made from 1/10, 2 ones, no tenths, and 6/100ths. It is very important to write the 0 in the tenths column because 12.06 is not the same number as 12.6. Let's divide 900 by 10.
So let's do some practice together. This is very similar to what we did last week. We looked at this whole. We notice it's cut into tenths. And I counted, and I have 7/10ths colored in. So this is what it looks like as a fraction. As a decimal, I would write 7/10ths, 0 point, and my 7 goes in my tenths place value. And if I were to write this in words, I would write 7/10ths. Notice the TH at the end of 10. Okay. And the next one, it is cut into tenths again, and I have 2/10ths colored in. So as a fraction, it would be 2/10, 2/10ths. As a decimal, I would have 0 wholes and 2/10ths. Remember last week, Miss Lanning told us when we see the decimal point that we would say and. So I'd say 0 and 2/10ths. Or if I have no holes, I would just say 2/10ths. Let's look at this next one. I know that this is cut into 100 equal pieces, and I know that I have 29 hundredths colored in. As a decimal, I need to use both of my decimal places I know. So I have 0 holes right here and 29 hundredths. If you notice that 2 is in the tenths place, and I have 2 full tenths colored in, and then 9 hundredths of the next one. So it makes it 29. So I have 2 whole ones and then 9 in the second column. And I would write that 29 hundredths. Notice the TH again. Let's look at this one. I know it's hundredths again, and I counted. I have 77 hundredths colored in. I have 7 whole columns and 7 in the next column. So if you look, I have 7 tenths colored in, full tenths, and then 7 hundredths in this column. So I have 77 hundredths. Let's do some practice without pictures. In my top one, I have 4 tenths. I have 0 holes, my decimal point, and my 4 is in my tenths place value. So that's called, we say that 4 tenths. Here I have 6 tenths, and I have a 6 in my tenth spot. So I would say 6 tenths. Then I have 7 tenths cut, and I would write that 0.7, 7 tenths. Let's look what happens when we have hundredths. Okay, I have 48 hundredths. I have 0.48, 48. So my 4 means I have 4 whole columns colored in and then 8 hundredths of the next one. So 48 hundredths. Okay. This one is 65 hundredths. I write 0.65. Notice at 65, it's hundredths, so my number needs to go all the way to the hundredths spot. Then I have 73 hundredths. I have 0.73. Let's look at this one. Sometimes this is confusing. I have 7 hundredths. Sometimes we're not sure where to put that 7 on the decimal side. So first I have my 0 and my decimal point. And then I ask myself, do I have any full tenths colored in? I don't if I were to color a picture. So I would need to put a 0 in the tenths place to let me know that I only have 7 hundredths, not 7 tenths. So my 7 would go my hundredths place. When you do your practice today, make sure to be careful for when you see any hundredths, when there's only a single digit, that you have to make sure you put that 0 in the tenths place.